G'day listeners, welcome to Bar Karate, the Sailing Podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and I'm pumped to be talking for another week about sailing and I can't wait to get into it. So let me introduce first off my good mate Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, Exalted One.
Said it before, say it again. Love Sundays and particularly today. I've had a great day on the water.
Yep.
Been out for the Australia Day Regatta, which is the oldest regatta in Australia, for those who don't know. And the ex, she's managed to get herself a prize.
We'll talk about that a little bit later on, I think, bud. Congratulations, though.
Absolutely. Very happy.
Good man. Let's bring in our other friend, Mr. Nick Bice.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Welcome, Bice.
Happy Australia Day, man. Just touched down in SA after a solid 10 days on the road, 5 hotels, 3 countries, a host of flights. One of those countries being the world's smallest, Jordan, which you would know.
Yep.
That being Belgium.
Yep. I'll get in trouble.
Managed to, touch down last night. So if you hear a bit of a snore later on, it could be me.
Fair enough.
But no, negative.
Bit of jet lag, old mate.
Nah, all clear. I know who we've got on for this show, and it's going to be good.
Cool.
There'll be no snoring coming from my end.
Good work. Just before we bring in our special guest, as you said, Bicey, happy Australia Day to everyone. For those listening, it is Australia Day. It's their national day in Australia, and it's also the National Day of India, for those that you don't know. So congratulations to our friends in India who listen. We do have listeners in India.
We do.
Yep. We've got listeners everywhere. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
We've been getting a lot of feedback this week, so people have been really loving the technical stuff. I've been getting a lot of it. People talking to me about what they enjoy about the show. They enjoy the humour, the technical stuff, but there has been a huge response to the discussions we've had around getting more people into sailing. And Adrian Finglas' statement that it has to be fun has rung a bell throughout the community. It has just been a major swell. And that episode has just rocketed to the charts. It's our second most popular episode after 2 weeks. It's crazy. So people are definitely into this project, bringing more people into the sport.
So does that mean all of the Milang Goolwa Yacht Club are listening in?
We'll touch on that as well. I do love Santi's idea. So Sandy Langer from last week, his idea of having the barbecue and the rotating boats, and we just rotate people through whilst they're doing that. So yeah, that'd be good.
I have to say, I in the regatta I did today, it was one of those things. We come off the water and we get up into the Royal Sydney Yacht Squadron, really probably one of the most lovely clubs in Australia, and there was a free sausage sizzle with onions, sauce, and bread.
There you go.
That's what it's all about.
Did you think
they
you were
could run a regatta? They could just run a regatta in the car park at Bunnings.
That's it. We're doing the same joke.
Yeah, but they can't. But they can't have onion.
Yeah, you're true. Oh, that's crazy. All right, guys, we've been enough in here, and we've got our special guest sitting there waiting patiently like a proper gentleman that he is. So let's bring him in, and at least he can join into the banter. A real privilege to welcome Harold Cudmore to the show. Welcome, Harold. It's great to have you.
Hi, guys.
How are you, mate?
Excellent. As you say, great day on the water day in Sydney Harbour. I was out in this beautiful 1935 8-metre, beautifully restored, called Defiance.
Lovely.
Owned by Nicole Shrimpton. And we had a lovely crew on board and just ran around the harbour beautifully.
Did you have any fun?
Oh, the usual stuff. Beautiful yacht, beautiful weather. I mean, I could be at home. It's raining. It's cold. It's terrible. So what's wrong exactly being in Sydney?
I think you've made the right choice. Fantastic.
And when you say home, you mean Ireland. You're Irish.
No, I'm Irish, but I live in the Isle of Wight in Cowes.
Yes, of course you're in Cowes.
Which is, of course, a great historic sailing centre.
Yep.
But talking about Ireland for a moment, just to bring up something, my home yacht club, Royal Cork Yacht Club, its 300th anniversary is coming up this summer.
Ah.
Just think back of what all the various countries were doing. What was Australia doing 300 years ago?
Well, they were planning a finish for the Ireland to Australia race.
Yeah. What king was on the throne in France, and like Manhattan had 40,000 people, and and there were people bumbling around Cork Harbour, no change.
Fantastic.
Some lovely records from the earlier periods where you had to if you breached club rules, you drinks all round. And I'm sort of saying things really haven't changed enormously.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. Wearing the hat, ringing the bell.
Imagine the day. Imagine the day at the Sydney Hobart when we say the QLD, Quiet Little Drink, is celebrating its 300th birthday. The QLD this year celebrated its 50th birthday. So
you want a story? You want a story on that? Years ago, we went down. In fact, it was a British team that time, and the tradition was you go in and buy drinks by the boat just to speed things up, as you know. So I said, "Okay, guys, we're buying by the team rather than the boat." And there was all these miserable palms, all sorts of things. I then said, "Okay, guys, here's the shout," and something I always wanted to do. 1,000 beers.
nice work.
That's a big one.
Fantastic.
That's a big one.
We're going to get on very well, I think, Harold.
Rolled the clock forward a couple of years, and we finally won the race on the Tara with John Story in 91, I think it was. And he'd been hearing the QLD backstory. So when we settled down, we arrived into a pub. And he looked at the pub owner and said, 1,500 beers. And just to finish the story, we were leaving a couple of days later because it took a while to finish it. And we called 2 taxis and an ambulance. The ambulance was the owner.
Story.
Good stories. Good stories. Yes. Well, first off, Harold, we should just give a little bit of rundown of your resume, just so people who haven't heard of the great man have a little bit of an idea. So tell me if I'm wrong, and this is my...
Shall we actually just allow the listeners to go and get themselves a drink and settle down? Because it's like reading a bloody encyclopedia, Harold.
It's a long one.
I've been dead for years. You can skip the backdrop. The results are largely forgotten by myself, but the stories haven't been. Yeah. And that's the important thing.
Well, let's remind you of a few results and let's talk some stories. Go, Jordan. Go.
I mean, I'm kind of pumped because of the crossover on boats, but you are or have been world champion in the half tonners and the 1 tonners. You got second in the 5.0 worlds. I think you went. Of course, I remember you went to the Olympics in '72 in the FDs. First non-American to win the Congressional Cup, so match racing background as well. Admiral's Cup, where you're the captain of several teams from memory. You did the America's Cup, and you've done at least a little bit of the ocean race, the Volvo ocean race, whether it was the Whitbread back then or the Volvo, I'm not sure. And
there's a nice story on that, actually.
Yep.
If you look at the original book of the first Whitbread race, the guy on the front cover with the beard is Butch Dalrymple Smith.
Yep.
And he and I sailed, and he kept telling me about this race. So, okay, wind the clock forward. I brought a little half-tonner down here to Sydney. And at the end of the trip, I was doing this, shall we say, drunken tour of Australia. And I was down in Albany, having raced down to Albany. And I don't know how the message got to me. Would I please go to Rio and do the last leg of the Whitbread race? So it was the first transnational European entry in anything. We're EUR1. Yep. We 1 person from each of the 9 countries of Europe, all on one boat. And we raced the last leg of the second Whitbread race. There's a bit of trivia for you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
A bit different. It was quite interesting, the atmosphere of when you had people from 9 different countries on board. There was no base culture or country. You're always somewhere. You're in Australia, you're in England, you're in America. But on this boat, we hadn't a base. So it was a wonderful experience. So, of course, we spent a lot of time just asking questions. I remember one time I said, well, if you want to get away with a girl in your country, tell me the story.
This could go on for hours.
Well, the Danish guy said, I meet a girl in the bar, I buy her a drink. She buys me a drink, and then it's her place or my place. That was a quick story. The Italian took the rest of the day.
Oh, dear.
Fantastic.
It's interesting how Bossy and I have done a lot of work with the Volvo, and we've hosted a whole bunch of things. I particularly end up hosting the VIP boat. I think Bossy was on board for this one where we had all these VIPs out for the import race. And one of the gentlemen on board said he was. We were talking about the strategy of how you would, when you're coming from the northern hemisphere, coming from Europe, as you come across the equator, you'll swing over west towards Brazil and come around and skirt the high pressure and then down and right down south and into into Cape Town that way, because you run around and go downwind. You sail further, but quicker. And we had this guy, and he sort of piped up and he said, I actually raced in the first edition of the race. Was it the first or the second, Bryce? Do you remember? First?
I think it was the second, 77, 78,
yeah,
maybe.
I think so.
Yep.
Anyway, he was just talking about, they said we didn't have the intelligence of that in those days. What we used to do is we'd sail the straight line course, the rum line, straight in and, bashing into the wind the whole way. And the strategy, he said, on the boat was that they would tack on a Tuesday.
I tell you, it was... Considering the level we were sailing Admiral's Cup in those days, the whitbread was very, very basic. A lovely story about the first ever race. They used to have, for instance, drinks at 6 o'clock every evening. They had freezers running, so you'd have steaks and all sorts of wonderful things. But there's this guy, Boot Duesseldorf, who has a wonderful sense of humour in the deep Southern Ocean, because, of course, there was no limits how far south they could go.
Yep.
And so he decided that he would fill the freezers empty with snowballs, because he wanted to have a snowball fight in Rio. I mean, it was a wonderfully eccentric. It was so different to the professional approach today. But it was great stories, great times. Also, of course, they didn't know what the conditions were, because there'd been some bad stories, like the Smeatons had been turned over off the southern road. Very few people had been down there. And I remember the boat that won the race. She got a serious broach, put the rig in, and they got a hell of a fright. So then I said to him, well, how long before you reset the spinnaker? And the guy, he talked around and eventually said 10 days.
10 days.
Make sure your sheets and headlights are all good, set up and ready to go.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're 9 days and 12 hours before we hoist.
Different times.
Can I actually ask,
very much.
With all the sailing you've done, all the dinghy stuff, all the offshore stuff, the America's Cup and the Admiral's Cup and the Southern Cross, I remember all that. Is there anything in that form of sailing and what you're doing now? Like, I'm sure you're doing all the historic 18s, I've noticed. You even won the Nationals in the historic 18s. And you would have had a heat today of the current Nationals, or yesterday. You would have had a heat yesterday.
It's a traditional three race series.
Three race series.
It is. So what's happened is that Woody, John Winning?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Woody's the long-term champion over the years, but we pushed him. We beat him 2 years ago. Last year we dropped a rig. So this year, after 2 races, we're level. Okay. So it's whoever wins the next race between us wins the title.
When's the next race?
When is
Next Saturday.
Oh, fantastic.
We'll give the results. We'll give the results. We'll watch closely.
Absolutely.
So I'm afraid our boats are dissimilar. So if it's lighter, we tend to be better. So if the classic nor'easter comes in, we struggle. But if it goes a bit light, we're in good shape.
Okay.
I've got to say, guys, last week I was out, actually out sailing around, and the timing was perfect, and I actually saw the 18 start, the traditional 18 start. Mate, what a sight!
Yeah,
you see photos, you see, and for our international listeners, we see these photos, and we've done a bit of posting of the photos, but to see it live on the start line, wow, it's just so cool.
It's pretty wild in the boat, because there's 7 of us in an 18-foot dinghy.
Yeah,
we've got 7 spars. And we've so little, 3 or 4 spinnakers. We've so little space. We don't wear life jackets. We don't even carry them.
Right.
Wetsuits only. We're so crowded, And the whole thing is, and all the bits of string and ropes and everything else. It's like the scene shifters in the theatre,
Hey, Harold, do you still have the bailer boy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in heavy conditions. Yeah, I mean.
Do you throw him off at the top mark?
No, we don't anymore. Mothers get very upset about it. They expect to deliver their crews back to them. They've got very proper these days.
Yeah, very proper. That's crazy. All this occupational health and safety stuff. I tell you.
Now the good news is that the club is only beginning to respond to that, because what really got me into these historics, and I mean, it's a wonderful part of Sydney life, which is somewhat underappreciated. We went out one day, and we went out. There were 6 boats rigged up. It was gusting 42 knots at Port Denison in the southerly. So I said, guys, what do we do today? And they said, not longer than 18 feet, start at 2:30. There were 8 boats in those days. 6 rigged up, 3 got in trouble getting off the dock, and 3 of us headed out. And there at the Royal Sydney Yacht Squadron, racked with people. And I found afterwards every single club in the harbour had cancelled, except the open day boats from the 1920s, without life jackets out there, you know, and with no buoyancy, and we can't self-ride. I thought to myself, hey, this is pretty cool. This is for me, you know. So we went around Fort Denison, and Woody turned around to me, and he'd given me the helm because that's the idiot's job, and the rest is actually quite difficult. So we were headed, and he said, I don't suppose, and he looked, we made eye contact. He said, okay, we put up a little tiny kite, not the 30-foot spinnaker pole, about 15 or 17-foot spinnaker pole, this little masthead thing, you see. And the gust came through, and I checked Fort Denison afterwards, 38 knots. It's somewhere on YouTube still. And we didn't keep it up for long, but I thought to myself, this is pretty cool. Okay, that was the day we used the Baylor boy, full-time Baylor boy.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get the Barkarati Tech Committee onto that, and we'll make sure we post that on our site. That'll be something to see, without a doubt.
So with that, just before we go down that further, like with all the different stuff you've done, what's the highlight for you? What is the thing that the one sailing adventure that stands out most, you know, or you're most proud of?
Well, it's interesting. I've often made this point to people who've asked a similar question, or the same question, that the attraction of sailing is that all great events have their personality and character.
Yep.
So, for instance, winning a Sydney Hobart is big. You know, winning Admiral's Cup, being on America's Cup winning team, you know, winning match racing, Congressional Cup. Each of them is very special in its own way. And nothing stands particularly. I suppose the first time I won something big stands out, but the others are great in their own way.
Yep. Well, that's fair. That's a good answer. So, what was then the question becomes, how did you get into sailing? What attracted you to the sport? Did you have a choice, or was Dad take you down, or Mum take you down?
Father took me down. He had a dinghy initially, then a 6-meter. So I must have been pretty small. I could stand under the foredeck of a 6-meter.
Wow.
So I was quite young. So
this was in Ireland. This was in Ireland, yeah.
Cork Harbour is a pretty nice sailing harbour. So we've that's why sailing is established there for so long and keeps sailing. So it would have been established in Sydney if they found the damn place in time. As I say, an amazing Captain Cook didn't find Sydney Harbour, all those high-rise.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
The Centrepoint Tower and all.
Yeah.
It's heaps easy to find. I find it 3 or 4 times a year.
There. We're missing something.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got listeners who are into the yachting. We got listeners who are into the dinghies. So,
and listeners who are into the beer. I'm going to say the highlight might be the 1500 order.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That'll be happening.
In Australian terms, that was right up there. So it's been fun to race from Sydney in Australia. So that's when I'd like to come back here each year for several months. And when the kids were younger, we put them into school down here from Christmas to Easter. So they got 2 summer holidays, the northern and southern, and grown up very well balanced, lovely young ladies. And as they got on with life, we kept coming down here. So we come down every year.
Probably well worth it this time, considering it, Barkarati, you probably haven't heard much of Barkarati, but at the moment we're in the process of releasing Barkarati Lager, Harold, our very own beer.
Well, it better be price sensitive.
Well, based on our recent business model, we'll probably end up just giving it away. So stay tuned.
I'm more likely to just end up drinking the damn stuff.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah. The 3 of us and all our guests at a party once a year.
Yeah. People say to me occasionally, do you drink most these days? I say, no, I spill most of it.
Yeah. Can I say that I can't wait to go to the Isle of Wight and have a Barcarati beer with you, mate. That'll be a highlight for us. Be somewhere in the world or in Cork and actually see our beer there, because it is a genuine thing we're working on. So there's a long story behind it. We'll tell you later on. Everyone else who's listening in's heard it and understands. They're on the pathway with us. I'm interested on a couple of things that I wanted to slightly more serious. Given the boats you sailed in the past and the evolution of sailing, do you go back and look at, say, some of the boats? Like, for me, the 505s, I've had a little bit of success in the FDs. I've been lucky to sail them. But the 505 is where my heart's always been. Do you go back and look at the 5.0s now, what the 505 looks like now, comparative to when you were sailing it? Do you do things like that, or back to the half-tonners, or any of those sorts?
Well, it's interesting. Most of the boats from when I was sailing them look very antiquated now.
Yeah.
And I will make one specific exception. The 505 is the most elegant, still beautifully up boat. Yeah. And like you said, my heart's in that class very much too.
Yeah.
I just love that boat.
Jordan, hey?
Hey? Well, he's
what do you reckon,
a man with taste is all I'm saying, BP. That the 5.0 is it's like I try and compare it to people who are non-sailors. I like it's the Porsche. It's ageless, and
yes,
it's not overpowered, but you still get this amazing. It's very, very fast. You get this amazing sensation, and it's a great boat to race. So it's an ongoing joke. I'm always joking about the 5.0. Like I always try and bring it up at every opportunity. So that's there's a little bit of an ongoing joke going on at the moment. Harold.
What boat? Sorry.
Sank.
Sank. Sorry, our French listeners.
What about in the old days with that, when we had the Admiral's Cup and the Southern Cross Cup and all that sort of stuff's disappeared now.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
The game moves on, and I think one of the things I've noticed, it comes back to sailing just generally, that people are very time hungry today.
Yeah.
Not that they can't do things, but because they have so many things on.
Yeah.
So you talk to somebody today, they're skiing, they're doing all sorts of different things. So what we're seeing back in Europe particularly, instead of perhaps owning a boat and putting enormous time and spending your holidays on it, based in the south of England, for instance, what a lot of people are doing now, and perhaps sail a small boat, maybe even have a paddleboard, windsurfer, whatever, and then charter Caribbean, Greece, Spain, so on. So I think the whole charter thing has picked up enormously. So it's like Airbnb. The company owns a boat, and hundreds of people can use a relatively small handful of boats rather than having boat ownership. I think that's the big change in Europe, certainly. Yeah. In America, sailing seems to have sort of pretty well died out, as far as I can make out, as a popular sport. So it's a big issue.
Which is what we've been talking about in the last 2 or 3 weeks, isn't it?
There's two things here. One is, I think you touched on this fun part. I remember years ago I went to a lecture by there were some sports experts who were being hired by Sport England at the time. England was getting from nowhere back into top Olympic sport. And what they would do is they would have a gathering, and they'd share the knowledge across all the sports. So they'd hire this guy, who's a pretty famous coach from Eastern Europe. And we're expecting to get a big, heavy scene about, driving the kids and everything else. And he said the exact opposite. The point he made, he said, kids shouldn't race till middle teens.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe the occasional race, but they should play in boats, not race.
Yeah.
We
Well,
put them in the race
I think
8, 9, 10. I think
that's what Adrian said a couple of weeks ago. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's what Santi said last week as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Common message. Interesting.
So this, and that came from Eastern Europe, where they had the luxury of mistreating their kids if they wanted to. And they didn't. They seemed to love them.
Yeah. Who'd have thought, eh? Who'd have thought? All right. So, there's some. We all agree with that, and we really appreciate you sort of saying some of this stuff, because it is genuinely something we want to try and do. That's kind of one of the motivating factors for Barcarati existing, actually, is to bring more people into the sport and make people more aware of people who've had fantastic careers, and introduce, so everyone gets a name, so we've got people to look up to and enjoy. I'm interested in you were doing, I reckon you did the Hobart. I'm going off memory, Harold. You did the Hobart in that sort of plywood, the half-tonners, the plywood Holland centreboard design.
Yes, that was not the smartest thing I've ever done.
Right.
It was short of one very valuable thing. It didn't have a keel.
Yeah.
I was gonna say. Pretty handy downwind, those boats.
Yeah. And we got a bad Hobart, and we had a floating centreboard, internal ballast only. It was very, very fast, but extremely unsafe. We were very glad to get into Ulladulla, believe me. As we came in, my boat captain, he said, I go below and check the engine to see if it's working. So the dipstick was missing. So he fiddled around the buildings, found it, and he just thought he'd have a look, and there was oil on the underside of the cockpit.
I was going to say, the dipstick floated out.
The oil floated out of the engine onto the cockpit.
Wow.
So it was pretty wild out there.
Wow.
So I strongly recommend a keel for a boat going to Hobart.
We'll make sure to keep that in mind.
I didn't tell the crew, and those days they weren't very strict about life rafts. I was a bit short of money, So I wouldn't dream of doing it today, but, we were young and stupid. Anyway, guys, lovely to talk to you. You've heard enough from me, I think, and I'll check out at this stage. And wonderful to see what you're doing, and enjoy that your boat with the double-sided mainsail. That was great.
The semi-rigid wing.
Yeah, I was impressed with that. I invited myself on board as you weren't there. Had a good look. And
Well, thank you very much. Yeah,
very elegant, cleverly done.
It was a good day on the water.
Okay, guys. Lovely to talk to you.
All right, mate.
Harold, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Harold, mate. Thanks for your time. Cheers, mate. Wow.
I fired that button a bit early, BP. Go on with your wow. Go on.
Oh, I just said, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool stories.
Cool stories.
Mate,
It ended too quickly for me.
We could do like a special, Harold Cudmore special.
Yeah.
Where just all his stories. Imagine like gathering some of those gents, putting them around the table and just letting them go at it, just with not a fly on the wall, but a bar karate
That's a good
microphone
idea.
in the middle of the table.
That's a good idea, boss. We could do that. You get some of the old guys and then just telling bigger and bigger stories, and we just keep giving them bar karate beer and see where it goes.
Oh, yeah. And given that we're going to make that, I'll update us on the bar karate beer a bit later, actually. But given that we'll be able to create our own beer, we'll be able to just ramp it up and down as we please with the alcohol content.
Oh, look, I got to say, I was at the Cruising Yacht Club today before the start of the race, and walked down to the dock, and I was parked in front of an old classic and just doing my stuff, and turn around, and the crew of the boat was our regular on the boat, Richard Grimes, of course, and the coach, the Fletch, the legend that we talked about, and Fraser Matthew Johnston. So these three guys were getting on the boat. FMJ. We're getting to go on the boat. And I'm just like, because I've done a lot of sailing with FMJ and a little bit of Adam's 10 cruising with the coach. And it was just so good to see them out in the water. These two guys, as well as Grimes, people like Harold, imagine putting them in a room, carton of beer, ice, off you go, lads. Chat away.
I've got a feeling it's probably whiskey these days.
Probably.
Yeah.
He's probably still doing his 1,500 beers.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Cool. All right, lads. All right, so let me do this again. There's a few things to discuss this week. The first one, obviously, is the launch of the new New Zealand Team Mule, Te Kahu. I don't know how to pronounce it. Kahu, the Hawk. You guys see those photos?
Yeah.
See that? Yes, the Hawk, yep.
Is this a clever idea? Have the Kiwis done it again? Is this a smart one?
Who knows?
I reckon they've nailed it.
They've nailed it.
I reckon
they've nailed it.
I agree.
They've what?
They've nailed it. I'm with Boss.
Yeah.
We haven't discussed that. We didn't discuss this at all, but I think we've both got the same.
I mean, there's a bit of logistics and timing into this, given they're putting their boat on the ship to go to Cagliari for the first regatta, which is basically counting down for 3 months. Then at least they've got something relevant to sail, whereas the other teams did it the other way around. Yeah. So they did the mule first, and then they're sailing their boats.
But American Magic still got their mule, haven't they?
Yeah, but what Bryce is saying, though, is that they've got out and sailed with a 75. They've got some real data from one of the boats, and now they can go, because they know they're building another
mule based on that.
They've built on their knowledge, so now they can experiment with all the ideas they've had off sailing that first one. And now they're actually going to be able to do all these different tests.
Before the next boat. Exactly.
And then before the next boat. So, and they've got a good few months of just solid sailing, exactly as Boss is saying. I reckon they've nailed it. Absolutely.
To be honest, I just can't wait to see them sailing together. Just bring it on.
Yeah.
Have the so the Italians and the jeez, I was about to say something really bad there.
What are you going to say?
Well, probably we're in a very multicultural day on Australia Day. I won't say it. Yeah. But the Italians
for those Australians listening, does anyone know the old movie Kingswood Country?
Leave your money on the fridge. Yeah.
No. Money on the fridge.
And the Poms, have they lined up yet? I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen
whether they've lined up.
I think we discussed this. I can't remember who I was talking to. Someone, and we were talking about it. Who was I talking to? Can't remember. Anyway, we're talking about it. They're out sailing together, and they're obviously in, but they must have a distance that they have to sail, because it was like this in 207 in Valencia.
Yeah. Copy.
You had an exclusion zone. But I've got to tell you that there was the opposition chase boats right on the limit of that exclusion zone. So I'm assuming that's going on.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, sure.
Did you guys have a look at the photos of that mule, the differences? Did you notice the differences? Yeah. What do you reckon? What are you seeing?
It looks like an Ineos.
It does a bit, doesn't it? On the top,
like an MC38, doesn't it?
Yeah, they might have gone round to Nick Holroyd's house and dragged out a few files.
Yeah, could have. Well,
the slab side.
Yep.
That's quite protruding.
Yep.
Let's say. What I found interesting, where the chine actually sits in relation to the pivot point with the fin, with those keely foily things.
Yeah. Oh, the keely foily things, yeah.
And then of course the down the centre line.
Yeah.
Like they're almost double chine leading into the. So you wouldn't call it multi chine.
No.
But
like a McGregor 26.
Oh, come on.
But it's definitely got Verdier written all over it.
Yeah. He took some of the hollow out as well, like under the waterline there. Some of that hollow into that centre chine, where those little concaves have been flattened right out. It's definitely a Guillaume look. It's interesting.
I mean, if you, apart from, picture this, grab 2 sheets of A4 pieces of paper. Pinch them on the short sides.
You know what I like about you, Bossy?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Mate, I'm super keen to see this out yachting. I mean, the development these guys learn, of course, with the initial mules in the other teams, this is true trickle down. If that makes sense.
Super cool. Super, super cool. I'm very interested to see how it's all going to unfold. I'm with BP. I really want to see some of these boats sailing next to each other. So we get to see the first of the World Series events, April 23 to 26. So that's in Sardinia.
You'd hate it, drifter, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, God, what a nightmare. And then they go to Portsmouth, June 4th and 7th. So that's the 2 World Cup series. So the Kiwi 75 is already on its way. Aihi. That's already on its way, I think, or it's just been packed up now. So that's when we'll first see boats together.
Will be interesting how much actual yachting time are they going to get in the big boats, and when do they expect to be launching their second boats? It'd be good to do a bit of digging on that because basically between now and the finish of Portsmouth, you've got 6 racing days. I'm not sure of the training days, but I doubt that they're going to be doing huge amounts of development with the big boat. So, yeah. It's some good strategy there, actually.
Any chance that we've got to do – I know we have to do a demonstration of USAFE to the Italian Coast Guard. What do you think we should do it April 23rd in Sardinia?
Yeah, Cagliari. We'll be there. Yeah, I think there's a follow-up one with the Portsmouth Coast Guard.
Yeah, that's right. Good group there. They need to.
Isn't there a beer launch about then too?
Oh, it could be. We'll get onto that.
Please.
All right. Okay. Well, that's good. So we're all interested. Still fired up with the America's Cup. On another thing, so we're trying to cover everything, guys. I want to swap completely here. Bossy, you sent me a link during the week about the end of paper charts. So the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is the government body in the US that publishes the nautical charts, is talking about winding down the production of nautical charts. And you have to you can respond to this plan on their website. You can actually put your views on that. So did you guys look into this or did you just send me the link?
No, I looked into it and then I tried to find my position on it. And to tell you the truth, I'm buggered if I have a position.
Okay.
I know in the back of my head, and whether this is just because I've been brought up this way, but you should have a paper chart at all times. In saying that, I've never been in a situation where the electronic charts have either gone down or lacked what you actually need. Of course, as a backup, in a racing situation, more often than not, any stuff up that you see is human error. And I understand the whole concept about, losing your electronics and you need to find your own way, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not a navigator, so I still find it hard, even in this day and age, to get rid of paper charts. But I can see why they've asked the question.
It is a big question. I mean, if it does, can you trust electronics? I mean, these days you can have so many spare handheld GPSs on board, et cetera, and surely every one of them can't go down.
Well, the satellites could go down. So let me give you. Let me flesh this out a bit because you guys are sort of. Let it explain. So,
non-committal, absolutely. You can call me Swedish on this one,
or Swiss.
See, insider.
So I'm with Bossy, right? I think we all agree. Sorry, I've seen so many mistakes with electronic navigation where people will be just doing the navigation off the screen, and then when you actually go and plot the course on a chart, you can see problems coming, right? Charts actually make things a lot more observable. What they're doing, so this is the NOAA, so this is the US. What they're doing is that they've said the ENC scales, so which are electronic nautical charts, have increased 425%, while the sale of paper charts has dropped by half. So what they're going to offer is they're still going to keep you'll be able to download ENC files from them, right? So electronic files from there, and you could print them out, right? So you could have your own chart. As long as you've got a drafting printer, you could go and print those charts out. So you are going to be able to get a chart, but it's going to be based on electronic chart, not a raster chart or a raster chart, depending on how you pronounce it.
Because at the moment you can buy the raster chart as an electronic file. That's well,
right.
Correct.
That's right. And so you can print it yourself, and there are other suppliers, but they're going to stop maintaining the raster charts, right? I've always been brought up that you should use rasters. Like you get a lot more detail. There is some argument that the quality of the electronic charts is not as good as the raster charts, and that is what is potentially going to happen. But if you do go on a cruise, you can just download the file, print it, and you're going to have the latest copy, because the electronic copy will be always up to date, whereas maintaining the rasters takes a little bit more work and time.
Getting updates.
In saying that, Canute Frostad told me a story through Navico with all their fish finders, and this is especially in the US, that the lakes in the US have never been so accurate due to the fact that all these Navico fish finders they're gathering data and updating data in real time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, we don't really have a fish finder. We have depth sounders, of course, but we don't have a fish finder as such in sailing yachts, so it's probably not as prevalent. But technology's there.
So I'm thinking maybe we do a Google Maps of the ocean. What's a new business for Barkarati?
And we give them away as well.
No, we just have a bunch of boats with these funny little things going around and just collecting data non-stop.
We bowled a Hyundai H3 to the bottom of a keel with those 360-degree cameras.
You got it. Anyway,
sorry, I had to bring a humorous point to that.
What do you call it? Street view? Ocean view. Fish view.
I was laughing. I was laughing to myself the whole time. I was going internally berserk.
Good man.
Fish view.
All right. Well,
so what do you do for a living? I just collect information and data for oceanographic maps. Go on, back to the run sheet.
Anyway, so with the charts, I think we all agree that you got to go to sea with paper charts on a boat. If you go to sea without paper charts, you're mad. But so you can put feedback into NOAA if you're so inclined. They're calling for feedback. But you can still download the file and print your own charts. So you will be able to go to sea permanently with paper charts, is the way I read this. So yeah, and
Nemo view.
I've lost them. These two idiots. They've lost them.
No, in seriousness, it'll be interesting to check in with some of our navigators, Sci-Fi and Will, for that matter, as to their thoughts. If we wanted to pursue much further.
Do you know, speaking of keeping old technology going, the space missions, they go to sea, they fly into space with sextants. Do you know that?
I did not.
Yeah. So they still use the sextant in case their navigation system goes down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
I'd hate to see it. You'd hate to see the art form. You'd hate to see the art form disappear, wouldn't you? I mean, do you consider it an art form these days?
Well, using a sextant, I wouldn't know. I've never shot a sextant. I've never taken a bearing with a sextant or a shot with a sextant.
I have once, and then I opened the book, and that was the end of it. Have you seen that bloody book?
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of numbers, just like what?
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I was listening to a podcast this morning with Mal Leyland.
Oh yeah.
And when they did his first trip across Australia in 1963, and came in and to go across the Simpson Desert, sextant.
Yep. There you
go.
Yep.
Ask the Leyland brothers.
Took him 4 pages to do the math, but and about 4 days before they knew where they were. But yeah.
And then they were lost.
He's going.
Do it again, Mal. Do it again.
Oh dear. All right. Move on, guys. On another topic. If it's another topic, do we get the baseline? No. Let's just get into this one. How many phone calls have I had from the members of the Milang Regatta Yacht Club this week?
I don't know.
I've had more than 11. I reckon a few of them have called me twice.
You've had 22.
So,
mate, must be something down there last night. Have we heard any stories?
I've looked up. I haven't. I tried to find results. Try to find some stories. They all promised to call in.
Guys, don't you see a sort of a familiar trend here?
What?
End of race, no comms.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Brett Perry model of communication. That's what it is.
The VX1 would explain it, right?
It's a big race.
But somebody could have given us a call. I got a heap of phone calls, and they all promised me to give me a call so they could get their names on Barkarati. get their names in lights.
Nick Wadden, all that jump up and down, that hoo-ha.
Yeah.
What was it worth?
I'll
Do you
tell you
feel
what
good? Do you feel proud, Nick Wadden?
I'll tell you
You've
what
done
it's
nothing.
worth, BP. I'll tell you exactly what's coming of this, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We mentioned them. They got heaps of publicity. The first yacht club in Australia that's going to be stocking Barcarati beer, I can tell you right now.
Milang Yacht Club.
Milang Yacht Club.
Or Milang Regatta Club.
Regatta Club.
I'll tell you what, I'll deliver it myself. Make sure you send the invoice first, because I cannot be trusted to hand over the invoice on handing over the goods.
Oh, dear. All right.
Nick Wadden, we want a full rundown.
Yeah, full report.
They've got their publicity.
For our international listeners, of course, this is the Milang Goolwa Yacht Club. We have been harping on about the Milang Regatta Club for the last couple of weeks. 50th anniversary, run this weekend, Australia Day, long weekend.
Hey, actually, if you do have a unique sort of race, like it's not Worlds, not a Nationals, not something like that, but something that's different and unique, reach out to us. We'll talk you up.
Good idea.
We'll talk you up. Let us know. Like, we're not just going to focus on, backwater South Australia where we all mucked around. We've all done that race, so I can say that in jest. But, yeah, like if someone from Finland or someone from China or somewhere that's got, an obscure little cool race that we wouldn't know about otherwise, let us know and we'll talk you up. We got no problem.
All right.
Yep.
Let's make it a challenge.
Yeah.
Okay. So as of now, we want to hear about your race, we want to hear about your club, and we want to hear about your contestants. Bring it on.
Your contestants. All right.
The contestants.
Speaking
This
of
is a familiar ring with us, the Leyland brothers. Barcarati.
All right. The 184th running of the Australia Day Regatta today. The oldest continuously conducted annual sailing regatta in the world. They really sort of you got to define that right down to make sure you've got that win there in the Guinness Book of Records. The oldest continuously conducted annual sailing regatta in the world was conducted
This was a question, wasn't it?
It was one of our quiz questions.
It was a question, but I wonder, would have been interesting if Harold was still on the line, whether Cork might have just missed one event, of their continuous regattas in probably about 1943, I'm thinking.
Yep.
Made it the longest non-continuous regatta. Yes.
That's it.
Good on us, Aussies.
So the way it runs, for those who don't know about it, it is huge. It's very much Australia Day is a big day in Sydney. It gets pretty crazy. So the Royal Sydney Yacht Squadron does the regatta on the harbour, and then I think the CYC does a race from the harbour down to Botany Bay and back.
That is correct. Yep.
Yep. And there's a bunch of different divisions.
Yeah, but it's not only that. The ferries do a race.
Yep,
the power boats do a race. So there's a bunch of stuff going on, and the harbour is the fullest. That it's actually quite it's entertaining on one side, but there is boats everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean, it's.
Yep.
Are they all doing the regatta, or just
no?
It's a bit of a mix of everything.
There's just a mix of everything. Different clubs are organising different things. So you've got your local power launches. You've got your local your local clubs of fishing people. I don't know. You've got a bunch of people all getting out there just doing stuff and celebrating the day.
Everyone wins a prize, Bicey. Everyone wins a prize.
Speaking of, everyone wins a prize.
How'd you go, BP?
Proudest day of my life. It's my first ever prize.
Oh, yeah, you had a win.
Well, I didn't have a win. I came third.
Took it out?
Third.
Took it out?
I came third.
Yeah, that's the one you want.
Third in what?
Division 2, Spinnaker Division.
How many boats?
On the X. Oh, there was 20-something boats.
Oh, nice.
Yes, but I sailed to my handicap. I'm very happy. Third over the line, third on handicap.
What other boats are in this division? I'm just trying to get some odds, lay some odds down for the sports boats.
To be honest, there was a couple of sports boats, and Dario Speedwagon was one to be noted, who I believe are the favourite for the sports boat nationals. With Andrew York. He got us by a couple of minutes on corrected time over the line. It was a long race, Yeah. So we found a few modes. I've been sort of developing a few things with the with the bits and pieces.
It was a long race.
Happy.
It's been going for 184 years, BP. It's a long race.
It was a bloody long race. ran out of food 75 years ago. It's okay though. I've got beer. 1,500 were ordered.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure. I'm intrigued about the whole. I've never actually been in Sydney for the Australia Day Regatta.
Oh, look, it's a wonderful day. I mean, and today was a beautiful day in particular. The weather was just fantastic. We had actually the most consistent northeasterly we've had in a long time, and believe it or not, no smoke in the air. So.
What I want to try
heart goes out to all those people still suffering with smoke. But today was a clear day and it was lovely.
What I'm trying to work out is if the ferries are doing a race, how do you get around Sydney if you're the tourist? You've turned up to Sydney and the ferries are out racing and you don't get around.
No, they don't race all day. They only do an hour little blast around, and there's a bunch of tours that go around, and you can buy tickets to go on the ferries and go touring around, and you can do. There's a whole heap of things on, a bunch of stuff. It's really busy.
Very cool. Oh, good work, mate.
Day.
Good work.
Yes.
Under the next...
Mate,
go on.
But just first, but we have big expectations for the sports boats.
No, don't. She's going to be a tough regatta, mate.
Oh.
It'll be fun.
Mate, stop! Don't talk it down now. You've been talking it up all the time, so we're expecting some big numbers here.
Not with the sports boats. We'll go okay, but we're
what we're hearing, BP.
That REO Speedwagon of Andrew York.
What we're hearing,
by far the favourite. It is a weapon.
What we're hearing is that you're guaranteeing a win. That's what we're hearing.
Okay,
100%. 23% of the races.
I will win 100% of the races 23% of the time.
There you go. All right, that's a fair bet. I love that one.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, I like that one. All right. Yeah. I want to talk about what yachts we're buying this week in a special edition of that. Bicey, you're in Duesseldorf for the Boot boat show. Tell us what you saw.
So during Dusseldorf, they announced the European Yacht of the Year, which is basically the Oscar of the water sports, I like to call it.
The Oscar of the water sports.
And did you know this? Every year there's around 60 new boats and designs on the market, sailing boats. That's quite phenomenal, I thought. So anyway, they give 5 awards. The Family Cruiser, which went out to the Beneteau Oceanus 30.1. The Performance Cruiser, the X 4.0, believe it or not, from X Yachts. The Innovation Award, one of our favourites, the Club Swan 36. The Luxury Cruiser went to the Armel 60, which would be perfect for the World Yacht Rally. And the Regatta Cruiser, the Dela 31 design, which is this potentially the next boat for the Olympics? Or has this been built, designed around that? Not to mention all the others that are out there, the Sunfast 3300, basically all those boats around that size. So it's that end of the market is shaping up to be pretty competitive.
Very interesting. I'm waiting for BP to come in on this. I was just waiting. I could see his eyes going.
Now, other thing...
I took your advice last week and I got a bit of paper and I jointed at the front and I bent it in the middle and I put a bar across the back and I've designed my new FAR 30. It'll be out very soon.
Yeah, good.
Based around double-handed sailing. So you're building the new boat.
The last thing about Boot, and then I'll lead into the boat I'm buying, but it is claimed to be the biggest boat show in the world. And there was a huge destination hall in the sense of people promoting places to go, regattas, races to sail in, etc. And I hadn't really come across that previously. But what blew me out of the water, scuba diving hall. Just 100% scuba diving. One hall totally designated to that. And it's a world that, I mean, I've done a bit of scuba diving, but to see everything that there is now and all the technology involved, holy shit, that is a market.
Bossy, drinking a beer that was full of helium is not scuba diving, mate. I'm just telling you now.
Yeah, I like getting on the knocks, though. Don't worry about that.
It sounds amazing. It does sound amazing. I haven't been to Boot. Obviously, there's some stuff I'd love to talk about from the impersonations of USAFE, the product we're working on. So
is there a beer hall?
Oh, of course.
There is not a beer hall, so that actually would be the ultimate, wouldn't it? If that was combined with the Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
But just stepping back, just one, as you mentioned there, Jordan, because I had told you, but there was the impersonation of the USAFE, a Chinese company. So I took off my USAFE kit, went into them to have a little chat, and instantly they recognised who I was. So the Chinese were getting a bit coy, but old mate from the Czech Republic, the distributor, he had no idea what the hell was going on. So he just basically told me everything. And the imitation, it's an absolute shitter. But so as we left, myself and
www.usafe.what?
No, it's Dash Global.
My two Chinese guys started following me for the next half hour around the show. And I knew they were following me, so I'd do the odd double back and just turn around, give them a little wave, give them a thumbs up. Hope you catch that virus.
Were they trying to... I was just going to say, were they trying to pass that virus on, or were they trying to intimidate you?
Yeah, so... I don't think we have much to worry about there.
You've got a lot to look forward to with the USAFE. I actually, for the listeners out there, I was had the privilege to have a little drive of the thing. Mate, unbelievable. Loved it. Very, very, very proud of you and all your team. So good on you.
Yep. And
cheers, mate.
There's been plenty of time sorting that one out. So all the impersonators aren't sorted and they don't do the job properly. So if you're out there listening, don't go for the Chinese ones. And plus they breach a patent, so you'll get them all taken back off you, just so you know. And what about the boat that you're going to buy? What was the thought?
Sunfast 3300.
Oh.
No.
This week.
Oh.
I saw...
You've broken me.
Yeah, don't worry. You'll be in there at some point in time. But I just saw that little race going down off the east coast of the US that Kenny Reid was partaking in.
Yep.
And I did read this is definitely not the launch of his Olympic campaign, but he certainly fits into the realm of the over 50 club. No, it looked cool. Verdier design, nice boat, fast, cool.
All right, no worries.
So that leads into your boat, BP, if that's going to change your mind.
No. I'm happy. Okay. I'm happy with my boat. Sorry, I was on another planet there for a second. I haven't actually got a boat this week, guys. Again.
Well, you're designing one, so that's fine. We'll leave you alone for that one. I'm buying the RS Pulse 58. That is the new all-electric rib coach boat. What's going on?
Rabbit ears.
Yeah, the bride's just trying to disturb us. The RS Pulse 58, so it's an all-electric rib. I think I've said that already. And it looks pretty cool. And I'm willing to give it a go. So this
is for your super coaching?
Super coaching. I'm not doing that much at the moment. But yeah, if I'm ever on the coach boat, it'd be good. So that was interesting. Have a look. I like it.
Yeah.
Now, my next question, Bicey, is what beer are we drinking this week? Let's actually use that as a discussion around Baccarati Lager, Baccarati beer.
Yeah.
Where are we?
I mentioned internally that we should introduce this segment to try and refine where we're going to end up with our Baccarati beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
With long-term goal, we got three choices, man. One, part of the brewery crew that I'm involved with, we choose one of them and we rebrand it. Two, we tell them what beer we want to replicate. Or three, we have in our mind the beer that we want and we actually go to one of the breweries, part of the group, and we go through a full taste testing session. Ooh. Now, this might take quite some time, but it's a journey we can bring our listeners on for sure. So my hand up is for number 3. I've spoken to one of the head brewers, and he's keen to have us on board to do this. It's going to be, a bit of back and forth. We need to come bring our best. We need to bring our top 3, what we want. First.
I think it's a fantastic idea. And I think one of the things that's happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks on Bar Karate is we've actually got a massive response for all the questions we brought up. All of the things that we've been talking about that are sort of quite relevant to the times. And I think the beer is quite relevant to the times. And I think we should put it out there. So listeners, we want to hear your opinion. We want to hear it.
And that opinion, keeping in mind this is the beer that we want every sailor out there when they get back to the dock or back on the beach after a day's yachting, what's the first beer that they just want to, just put down? And that's what we want to replicate. We're not. It's not a session beer. It's not a big hoppy craft beer or anything like that. It's just what you want to really, just quench the thirst.
I guess a good way of looking at it is if you put some input into this beer, when you sit down and have a beer after your regatta, you could say you had a part in this beer. You could be a part of the Bar Karate Lager program.
Yes.
Hey, you could be a part of this.
And Jordan being the chief marketing officer of Bar Karate, newly appointed. Maybe everyone who puts their name in can get their name printed on the back of the can.
Oh, yeah. Like Coca-Cola.
I like that idea.
Don.
No. Like lots of names.
Like the 1,000 or 2,000 people, but in real small writing. They were part of the.
Yeah, I like it.
They were part of naming, getting the beer.
Real small writing.
Yeah. So what I've taken from this conversation is that the third idea means that we get to go to a brewery and hang out with the brewer and taste different beers.
Correct.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
Yeah, but we have to. Yeah, but we have to have advice from our listeners.
Yeah,
because,
they've picked up on
we
that.
want to know.
They've heard it.
The worst thing you can do when you bring something to the market, as we all know, we've all tried to do this, is to tell them what they need. Right? Yeah. It's not about that. You need to tell us what you need, and we'll bring it.
Yeah.
No, fuck.
Within reason.
No, I'll just decide.
Whatever we want.
We'll do what we want.
No. So, we asked it before, but let's have another crack. We had got lots of good ideas last time.
Lots of good beers to try.
Let's have another crack at it, and we'll refine it down to the top 3 from our listeners. We'll refine ours down to the top 3 between us 3. And I think that's what we're going to take and try and replicate. It may take several months, but and several tens of thousands of dollars to do this, but I'm willing to sacrifice.
Can we send beer via post? I mean, can you do that or?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. No,
right,
we'll have
my point. So my point is that the people that get into this heavily, so all our listeners, the bigger you get into this, can we say, look, this is our choice, but maybe we could send a beer to them.
No, it doesn't happen like that because we're going to make about 5,000 litres. But we can definitely distribute Australia-wide. We've got the networks. So
we're good.
Once it's up and running, expect at least 1 carton per week at exorbitant prices.
Righto. Let's move on. I think people have heard a lot about beer. We've done nothing yet, so let's just get it going. All right. I think we'll leave Secret Pro news alone.
Again.
Yep. Well, we don't get any news that we can tell. We've got more news this week. I wish we could tell you about it, but we will let you know when it comes out and is made public.
It's distressing, isn't it? But anyway, keep moving on.
Yeah. All positive. Let's go. Quick round the grounds. Congrats on the 505s nationals here. Yes. We do have to quickly run to that one because good friends of ours had a win. But in the Australian champs, but the overall winner was Mike Holt and Rob Woeful. So congrats to those guys. But I think particular joy for Fritz and Snodey. So Rob Duesseldorf and Dave Snode winning the Australian champs.
Yeah, well done, man.
Yep.
Fantastic effort. I spoke to Snodey the other day. He's stoked, and he's got a big program going on with the 5-0s, so he's loving it. He's loving sailing with Fritz, our relative Stig man.
I reckon we could make Fritz pro after this.
I reckon he could go pro.
He could have gone pro a long time ago, boys. He just chose not to. All right.
Well, he had to make fiddly little machiney bits.
That's right. The thing that will come out of this, the 5-0 class is being. Holty is president with Mike Quirk. I think they got joint international presidents, and they're doing all sorts of stuff to try and drive up their website and bring more people in, and actually do a lot of information sharing. So, like,
and a great lot of footage that came out for this week. It was wonderful.
But what they're trying to do is actually go, like, if you want to learn about things about boats, it doesn't have to be a 5-0. You can go to the 5-0 site and you'll be able to pick up all this information. And one thing they're about to publish this week is their tuning setups. The way they're doing the tuning setups now, they've got this color-coded system. So you can adjust anything on a 5-0. Absolutely anything on a 5-0. So if you want to learn how to make anything work on a boat, go and sail a 5-0 because you can actually find out next to another boat. And so they've actually evolved it to a stage now where it's a colour-coded system. So rake, if it's a certain wind strength, you'll put rake to red, mast ram to red, Cunningham to red. You'll just go, everything's marked, outhaul to red, and then if it's a different wind strength, then everything goes to yellow. Do you know what I mean? So they've got all this.
So does that mean all those boats are part of the Ginga Challenge?
It's different colours. It's the rainbow challenge for those blokes.
Rainbow challenge.
But anyway, there's going to be a video explaining how they do it up on their website.
That's cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
So it's a good site to get to because they're actually trying to create a lot of interest.
It's a bit like Adrian's story a couple of weeks ago when he went out training a couple of guys, and they pulled the lines onto where Mike Holt put them, and he said, "No, mate, you could pull it on a bit different. You do this, do that," and it was like one of those things. They didn't want to change the settings of the legends, but they sail the boats different. Everyone sails the boat different.
Well, yeah, you'll probably find that it's easier to plug and play at the moment in the 5-0. That's what's happening more and more with the Fritz with those guys.
So sorted.
It's sorted. They've two-boated and refined and tested. They know exactly where to put the numbers. So which makes it even more a big story for the Fritz and Snowdy. To get out there and sail the boats and to be faster on the water. Yeah, they sail well.
Snowdy said to me it was downwind. They were just incredibly quick downwind.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. All right. The Miami World Cup has been on this week. It's the final opportunity for North American or American nations to qualify for the Tokyo Olympic Games, their final opportunity. No Niners or Narcas there. Did anyone look at that?
No, well, I did look at it. I was just wondering what the vibe was on the shoreline.
Yeah,
with the US Olympic team. Basically, who's really taking the reins and really trying to drive it in one direction or the other. Yeah,
I can't answer. But if you're interested in that, there was a few qualifying spots. There's too many classes to go through, but it looked like it wasn't, there's plenty of people that didn't attend, I'll say. Although looking at the 470 men's, that's a pretty strong fleet. So anyway, that was on this week. Just drawing attention if you're into it. We'll probably skip past that. Anything about the Festival of Sails in Geelong? Anything you guys want to say there?
Well, congratulations goes out to Secret Men's Business for the Melbourne to Geelong long race for the start of the event. So they've obviously gotten a little bit more into it. I haven't seen the results, but so far, but I think they're looking pretty solid.
No, what I have seen, and I've only looked at the TP stuff, is that Secret Men's and Zen are on equal points at the top of the board at the minute. And that's after 4 races. I haven't looked into the other ones thus far.
Just letting you know, guys, I'm on TV right now interviewing Ash Barty she just won in 3 sets. She's just won in 3 sets in the Australian Open in the tennis. G'day, Jordan. Oh, Jim. Jim. That's my wife.
For our international listeners, I've said it a few times tonight, but
Google
for our international listeners, Google Jim Courier, and then Google Jordan Spencer. They're identical twins.
I don't see
From
it.
the body of the same name.
I don't see
the
it.
same look.
I don't see it. You're idiots. Righto, let's move on.
852.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of that, are we going to announce this challenge tonight? We've already sort of talked about the beer thing. Let's focus on the beer thing and I want to bring the T-shirt challenge out.
Yeah, I think we can do the T-shirt challenge because in my mind it's got a couple of weeks to run, to tell the truth. I haven't given you guys the rules yet, by the way.
Okay, hit us with the rules. So first off, hang on. First off, context.
We're going to international listeners. This is the first time we've heard this.
We're going to make a T-shirt and we're going to sell them, right?
Oh,
correct.
Not going to give them away, BP. We're not giving them away, BP.
Obviously, T-shirts are a big deal in yachting.
Yeah.
I'll ask in a few weeks for everyone to send in their best regatta T-shirt. But for now, the Bar Karate team T-shirt challenge.
So we have to create it.
Guys. Get your pens out.
No.
Basically, we've got 3 weeks each. Each of us have 3 weeks.
What, the three of us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jordan Spencer, Brett Perry, Nick Bice, and unlimited resource to come up with a Bar Karate design or a T-shirt design for Bar Karate. You can spend $0 on it, $1, $10,000, as much or as little as you want, and you submit your T-shirt design. So you've got a few weeks to do this, right? And then we're going to get the punters to vote on the best design, and that's the one we're going to. That's the one we're going to design, and we're all going to pay for together to have part of our merchandise range.
Right, so people will be able to get that one, and so people can vote on which one they like. So we create the who's going to come up with the best one. So listeners, just remember, the other two are idiots, right? So vote for my shirt, right? So, just if you're into
853.
Mate, I tell you what, Driftwood Designs by Bice is going to come through with an absolute glamour.
I'm not going to announce the name of my little marketing or our little marketing company name we've come up. We've got to keep that one secret because people will run out and register that one.
Unfortunately, when I checked for the mine, there's about 1,000 Driftwood marketers.
Yeah. So, all right. So we just come up with the designs and completely unbiased and uninfluenced, the listeners will vote for the one that they like best. The other two are idiots. Do not buy those. A run. And if you pick mine, I'll send you one at a discount. All right, but nothing. I'm not.
And like I said, it can cost you $0, $1, $10,000, but it's not coming out of the Bar Karate kitty for the design.
Okay.
Of course, it'll come out for the actual
Bar Karate kitty.
Yeah.
Well, it's in a little deficit at the minute. So it's not going into it neither.
Anyway, right. Okay, so that's the plan. And if you want to reach out to us...
Mate, actually, why don't we open it up to 4 designers? So actually, we can ask the punters if they actually have a design also.
Right. Okay,
yes.
so... Okay, hang on. If we...
What?
So
our other listener...
No. So what they're saying is... but what Bicey, I reckon, saying is that if you do want to submit a design, we will add a 4th. So there'll be 4 to vote from. We'll pick the best
dimension.
One. We'll pick the best one
dimension
out of the submissions, and then you'll be able to choose between the 3 of us and this 4th one. And then the 4th one, if they win...
The pressure's on now. The pressure's on.
If they win, then it's their shirt that gets printed. And I guess,
and they make the money.
Well, I was just going to say,
we'll put a buy under
broke?
the logo. We'll put the name on there, like buy.
or we'll give them something. I doubt we'll end up making any money, BP. So we haven't proved to be successful at making money. So I'm not going to promise anyone we're going to make money. If we can give them some money from it, then we would. You know, we're just whatever good blokes will do. But yeah, that's a good idea, boss. I like that. So if somebody wants to jump in.
And just so everyone knows, it will not be known whose is who.
Oh, that's another good
ABCD.
idea.
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm going to get onto it.
Well, if your daughter Shah draws it up, we're all stuffed. Charlotte,
Yeah, she's
getting
pretty
good.
handy on the pen.
I might get Charlotte to draw up my design. Actually, it's unlimited.
I've already got my T-shirt done.
Okay.
Mads,
cool.
my little Mads has done one.
Okay.
Already.
There you go. That's
Good.
smart use of your resources, BP. It
All
might
right, man.
work.
So 3 weeks,
Okay.
whatever the date's going to be, in 3 weeks' time. That's when we're going to release the 4 nominees, and we'll give a week
Three
of voting.
weeks.
Okay.
Weeks. That's about the same time as the Teakle Blue Water Classic.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. All right. So T-shirt challenge is up. That's it. All right. So we better
Get on with it.
better
Next.
put up a thing where they can copy it. So if you want to talk to us via the Instagram, #BarKarate, via Facebook, you can send us direct message on Facebook. You can email us at
Cheers.
cheers@barkarate.com.
Karate. Yes.
One word, barkarate.com. So cheers at Barkarate, or you can just visit the website and you'll find the link there. So if you are enjoying the show, give us a rating. It does make it easier for people to find us. So it's all pretty good. All right. Are we happy?
Yep. Happy.
All right, happy. All right.
I'm cool, man.
Cool, man. All right. So on to the quiz question. We're about to wind it up. Thanks to Harold Cudmore for coming on. That was good. I wish he'd stayed longer. He had a hot date. Bison, you dropped out before the setup. You didn't see the hot date. I'm not sure if we can say what we saw in the background.
Just it's over 18. Parental guidance recommended.
He's on a hot date with his wife.
Date night.
Yep.
Date
Australian wife.
Yep, we know. I'm not saying anymore. He's going to have a good night.
To be honest, it was some good stories. It's always good having these guys involved
Stalwart
and
of yachting.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Yep, well done. Thank you, Harold Cudmore.
Yep, beauty. So the question last week is in Argentina in 2001, between 20 December and 2 January, just over 10 or 11 days, how many presidents did they have? That was in honour of Santi from last week. We did that question for him. The answer, 5. 5 presidents in about 11 days.
That's good going. That's good going.
It's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Could you imagine the secretaries?
Can you imagine the gold card? If they get gold cards like the Prime Ministers here in Australia, where you get, your office and your flights and
The rest. What about
between
the
Christmas
pension?
Day, Boxing Day, and New Year's Day? I would have floated in and out of about 4 or 5 presidencies as well, I reckon.
What about? Do they get pensions for the rest of their life?
That's what I'm wondering. I don't know. Given the economy
Get
at
their painting in the White House.
given
or
the
Blue
economy
House,
at the
whatever colour
time,
house it is down there.
yeah.
Hey, Dale, nailed that one. 2 days, got pensions for the rest of my life, all sorted.
Well, given their economy at the time, I doubt that's happening. But did you guys know that the submarine was invented in Ireland?
With screen doors.
The submarine
screens.
So the question I have this week for the listeners, right, is who drinks more Guinness, the Irish or the Nigerians?
Big question.
Big question. It should be an easy answer.
I think it's an easy answer.
Yeah. All right, lads, we're done.
Nailed it.
Love you,
Australia. Happy Australia Day, man.
Happy Australia Day to
Signing off.
everyone.
See you later.